more procrastinating. Today's the day to open up the big compost heap and have a see at what we've got behind this pallet front. It's been being filled since I think about the middle of spring, and it's had all manner of things put in. It's had grass, it's had wood chip in the bottom of it, it's had lots of garden trimmings from people that have donated them to me. It's had quite some chunky sticks put in as well. I know there's actually quite a lot of dock that's been put in there. And some other chunky stems as well, some quite weedy things, but it did get really hot. I do have a thermometer with a long probe that you can stab into it, and it did get up to about 60 degrees centigrade. It was actually reading 140 Fahrenheit, 'cause for some reason the thermometers are just in Fahrenheit only, but 60 degrees centigrade, it's scalding, it's really hot. So I am expecting there will be some good stuff in here, although I don't know what stage it'll all be at. There could be some stuff that needs turning and processing again and restarting, but I would imagine there'll be some good stuff in here, so we'll just get it open and just see what we've got. I'm just putting this tarp down because it is quite handy in case anything just falls out of the compost heap, and then you can pick it up quite nice and tidy and just deal with it. We can see that there is some quite nice dark stuff in the front of that at the moment, so fingers crossed we've got quite a reasonable amount that might be ready to go. I don't have a proper lid for this compost heap just yet, so I have just been putting a layer of cardboard on the top of it just to help prevent it getting too damp, and then if any excess rain hits it, it does tend to sort of feed down the sides of it rather than going right into the middle of it, and it just helps it drain away a little bit easier than it turning into a little bit of a soggy pile. So there's quite a few grass trimmings still on top of this, which looks like it's dried out a little bit. So all of this will just get turned into these buckets, and then it'll get plopped into one of the other compost bays. So that top layer of grass and cardboard from the big bay is now going into one of the smaller bays, and I'm just going to put a little bit of water on it just as I feel it needs it. Lower down it doesn't look like it's too bad. It does look like it's made some quite decent stuff down there, but getting down to that layer is going to be for another day. So I'm going to get the front put back on this and finish off dealing with just the top layer, because it is looking quite chunky in there. There's some quite big sticks and bits and bobs, so we'll have to look at dealing with that and getting it all mixed in and broken up a bit smaller.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see.
as much as the compost heaps are really, really important to have for the health of the plot, I do find it really hard work to deal with them and keep them turned, and I must admit I do procrastinate and put off doing it. It doesn't help being 5'3", and these are quite big heaps, so it is quite hard work. But I tend to find the easier method is climbing up and standing on top of the heap. But as you start forking things over and lifting things out into the other bin, the level decreases, so you're sinking lower and lower into it. You've got to remember to have an exit plan so you can actually climb out of the thing. I mean, I'm not talking from experience, so, you know, I haven't been stuck in there overnight or anything. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, make sure that you can climb out, and it does get a little bit difficult as well to actually manipulate your fork or whatever you're using in there, because you start hitting the side walls of it as well. But it's a lot easier than I think than standing at the face of it.
To see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell. You and me were meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. You and me, meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.
Well, at least that started. I mean, it was something that was a bit of an onerous task, I was thinking, because it was so humongous. But anyway, we've had a look at it, and it's a little bit of it's done now. So next job is to have a look at chopping back the asparagus ferns. As we can see, quite a lot of them now have gone their autumnal colours and looking like they're not particularly doing a great deal for feeding the crowns anymore. So I'm going to get these cut back, and I'm just going to chop up the ferns and just lay them on top of the bed just to provide a little bit of protection and a bit of mulch for over winter. It's just after 4:30 now in the afternoon, and it is getting pretty dark already. I had to put the little lights on. Well, I didn't have to, but I mean, they are quite cute. Last job before I disappear, I think I'm just going to take off the green tomatoes, and there's a few on the outdoor plants still, so I'll take those off because these still need to come down, and that'll be the next job to do, I think. It was good to check out the big compost heap. I was actually quite surprised how dry it was inside it, but it did get really quite hot. I'm a bit naughty, to be fair. I did throw quite a lot of chunky sticks in, which you've seen, and they have gone, well, they've not really rotted, but they've gone quite ashy, almost as if they've got really hot and then got some sort of, I don't know, fungus on them. I suppose that's what they do when they're breaking down, but they've not really broken down much at all. I mean, they're pretty brittle, but they're quite big. So I've just broken it up with the fork just to aerate it a little bit, and I'm just going to leave it open and then hope we've got a little bit of rain, because it does need to get a little bit damp, and then it'll hopefully start breaking down again. A lot of the top stuff that was smaller I've moved into the middle bay, so that should keep breaking down now, and I've given it a bit of water because that were a touch on the dry side, so I'll leave that now and that should keep breaking down. I'm going to take some of the asparagus ferns home, just to experiment with them and see if I can just make sure that they're completely dry, and then I might have to spray them with some clear lacquer because the little bits are falling off them a bit like a Christmas tree. But I was hoping that I might be able to do something like make a bit of a wreath out of them, but I mean, it just might end up a nightmare and bits everywhere, so I just thought I'll hang them up at home and then see if I can make it stay put by spraying a little bit of clear lacquer on, and I mean, it either will or it won't, and I mean, it's a bit of fun, isn't it? It's something worth trying. But the rest of them, I've chopped them up and I've just put them on top of the asparagus bed just to give it a little bit of a winter duvet, and that can sort of rot down in place over winter. I'll just leave it all there, and it might actually create a nice little habitat for some critters, perhaps hopefully good ones and not all the bad ones. Now, I had said earlier on that I wasn't going to put any elephant garlic in. I mean, it's really expensive. It's about £1 per clove, but I did grow 4 cloves of my own last year that I did grow on. 2 of them stayed mono bulbs and 1 of them I've actually used, but I have got 1 left, and I've got 2 that split into the full bulbs, so I've probably got about, I don't know, I'd guess about 9 that I could plant now. And I did bring them up today, but I didn't get time to do it, so I'm just having a bit of a ponder whether I take the fennel out and put them in at the end of the garlic bed where I planted the other day. But it's not a job for now, it's going to be a job for another time, so you never know, I might still have a wobble and decide not to put it in and just use it instead. I think for me it's a little bit hyped up. I mean, I understand it, some people might not want a stronger flavour, but I mean, you can always just use less regular garlic, and I mean, yeah, there's some things that you can do with it, where you might want to keep it in bigger pieces and have a milder taste possibly, but I think for me it's maybe, given the price of it, it's a bit more of a novelty. I like growing the really strong ones, which is why I got that Garcua, because I read that were meant to be quite a nice strong one, and because I do quite a lot of batch cooking, and then if I want a lot of punchy flavour, then I don't have to maybe use quite so many. So I think there's probably a high chance I will actually plant it, but for another day. So I'll see you next time. Oh no. Oh no. What else have I done? Now, I had said earlier that these, and even though they're absolutely massive, a lot of the top stuff that was smaller I've moved into the middle bay,